The alien fleet loomed in space, a massive shadow casting over the planet below. On the bridge of his flagship, General Vorax stood, gazing out at Earth with an air of utter disdain. His eyes, cold and calculating, scanned the human fleet below, barely visible from this distance. The human ships looked like specks in the vast expanse of space, small, fragile, and unworthy of his attention. Pathetic, he muttered under his breath, his voice laced with a mix of amusement and contempt. He was a seasoned commander, one of the most respected in the alien empire, and this mission was meant to be little more than a routine conquest. He had fought wars against species far more advanced than humanity, and every time, his enemies had fallen before him like wheat before the scythe. Earth's military was nothing but a minor inconvenience in his eyes. The alien fleet, consisting of hundreds of enormous warships, was far superior to anything the humans could muster. Their ships were sleek and powerful, bristling with advanced weaponry, cloaking devices, and AI systems designed to obliterate anything in their path. Meanwhile, the human fleet was small, their ships crude, and outdated by comparison. They had no chance. Vorax turned to his tactical officer. "Prepare the fleet for the assault. Earth will fall today, just like every other planet before it." The officer nodded and began relaying orders. General Vorax, however, remained unmoved. He had seen it all before. The last-ditch efforts of weaker species to resist, their futile attempts to fight back with their primitive technology. But it would be over quickly. This planet, these humans, they were nothing. As Vorax surveyed the human fleet through his view screen, his thoughts were interrupted by a sudden transmission from Earth Command. The message came through loud and clear, filling the bridge with its defiant tone. "This is humanity's final stand. Prepare for the fight of your life." Vorax's eyes narrowed. The audacity of these humans to speak so boldly, despite their obvious disadvantage. It only made their inevitable defeat all the more satisfying. He couldn't help but chuckle. They had no idea what they were up against. "Such arrogance," Vorax muttered, his lips curling into a smirk. "Let's see how long that confidence lasts." The order was given. The alien ships powered up their weapons and began to advance, their engines humming as they cut through the emptiness of space. The human fleet, though smaller, seemed to brace itself, positioning its ships into a defensive formation. From a distance, the humans looked like a scattered collection of fireflies, weak, disorganized, and utterly outmatched. As the alien ships moved closer, Vorax noticed something strange. Despite the distance, there was an odd stillness in the air, an unnatural calm before the inevitable storm. His instincts, honed over years of battle, told him that something wasn't right. But it was too late for second thoughts. He had already made the decision to strike. The first salvo of the battle came from the alien fleet. A barrage of energy blasts filled the void, streaking toward the human ships in a deadly arc. The human fleet's shields flared as they absorbed the alien fire, but it was clear that they were struggling. General Vorax's smirk widened as he watched the humans recoil under the pressure. They were weaker than he had anticipated, but that only made their defeat more satisfying. But then, something unexpected happened. As the alien ships continued their assault, a strange phenomenon occurred. The human ships, which had seemed so vulnerable moments ago, suddenly vanished from Vorax's sensors. It was as if they had disappeared entirely. The tactical officer's voice cut through the tension on the bridge. "General, the human ships. They've vanished from our radar. We can't detect them." Vorax's eyes narrowed in confusion. This was impossible. How could the humans have such advanced cloaking technology? His mind raced as he quickly ordered the fleet to scan the area. But it was no use. The human ships had somehow rendered themselves invisible. In the next instant, the silence of space was shattered by the sudden appearance of several human warships, launching devastating attacks on the alien fleet. Vorax's heart skipped a beat. The human ships had not only cloaked themselves, but were now attacking with pinpoint precision. Energy blasts tore through the hulls of his warships, causing explosions that rocked the entire fleet. The aliens were not ready for this level of resistance. Their ships, which had once seemed invincible, were now taking damage they hadn't expected. "What is happening?" Vorax roared. His voice, usually calm and composed, now carried a hint of panic. The humans were fighting back, and they were doing it with a level of ingenuity and determination that he hadn't anticipated. The human fleet, though vastly outnumbered, fought like lions defending their pride. Their warships, though small, were nimble and expertly maneuvered, using every advantage to avoid the aliens' heavy fire. The humans had outfitted their ships with cutting-edge technology, eye-controlled drones that assisted in targeting, advanced shielding that absorbed the alien blasts, and cloaking devices that made it nearly impossible for the aliens to keep track of them. As the first wave of human attacks crippled several alien ships, General Vorax realized the scale of his mistake. He had underestimated the humans, assuming that their small, outdated fleet would be no match for his advanced technology. But now he could see just how wrong he was. Vorax slammed his fist onto the armrest of his command chair. "Increase the firepower. Do not let them get away," he ordered, his voice tight with frustration. But it was clear that the humans had already gained the upper hand. The alien forces were now in disarray, their ships scattered across space, struggling to regroup. The once confident alien commander, who had mocked the human fleet, was now faced with the terrifying realization that his forces were losing. The camera zoomed in on General Vorax's face, his expression a mix of disbelief and growing concern. He had thought this battle would be over in minutes. He had thought that the humans were weak, helpless in the face of his superior forces. But now, as the human fleet continued to outmaneuver his ships, his confidence began to crack. He had been wrong. This battle was far from over, and the humans were not the weaklings he had imagined. They were a force to be reckoned with, and they had just begun to show their true power. General Vorax watched as his fleet launched an overwhelming barrage of fire toward the human ships, expecting an easy victory. The alien warship's powerful weapons unleashed a relentless storm of energy blasts, lighting up the darkness of space with their destructive force. From his position on the bridge, Vorax couldn't help but smile. These human ships, so small, so feeble, would be no match for his superior firepower. But then, something unexpected happened. As the alien beams streaked toward the human ships, the smaller human vessels, once visible, seemed to disappear into thin air. The alien sensors, designed to detect even the faintest disturbances, were suddenly blinded. The human ships, cloaked in advanced technology, had vanished from the radar. Vorax's eyes widened. "What is this?" he growled, furrowing his brow. His tactical officer rushed to his side, adjusting the readings on his console. "General, the human fleet. They've activated some form of cloaking technology. We can't detect them," the officer reported, his voice strained with disbelief. Vorax's grip on his armrest tightened. His mind raced. Cloaking devices. How could humans, so far behind technologically, have such an advanced defense system? This was supposed to be an easy victory. He had anticipated minimal resistance, not this unseen threat. The aliens fired again, hoping to hit something, anything, but their shots passed through empty space. The human fleet, once scattered and vulnerable, had now turned the tables. The cloaked ships darted in and out of their range, striking with precision before vanishing again into the shadows. The battle was no longer one-sided. The human ships, despite their smaller size, now moved with incredible agility. They were no longer the easy target the aliens had assumed them to be. The humans were hitting vital systems, engines, power cores, weapon turrets, weakening the alien fleet with every strike. General Vorax's face hardened as he watched a human warship emerge from cloak. Its sleek form shot out from the shadows, weapons glowing with an ethereal blue light. With incredible precision, the ship fired a concentrated energy blast that ripped through the hull of an alien destroyer. The once proud warship cracked open like a tin can, its remains floating in space in a fiery explosion. "Impossible," Vorax muttered, his eyes wide in disbelief. His tactical officer shot him a nervous glance. "General, they're attacking our destroyers, and our systems are failing faster than we can respond." Vorax didn't respond immediately. His mind raced as he tried to assess the situation. The humans were supposed to be easy prey, but now they were acting like predators. His fleet, technologically advanced and overwhelming in numbers, was being systematically dismantled by the humans' precise, calculated strikes. "Focus all fire on their cloaked ships. Track their last position and fire with everything we've got." Vorax barked, his voice rising with frustration. The alien fleet responded, but it was too late. The humans had already moved again, leaving the aliens grasping at empty space. In the midst of the chaos, another human ship appeared, materializing out of the cloak. This time, it wasn't a single vessel. It was a fleet of smaller ships, each one appearing like a shadow in the darkness. They moved with coordinated precision, striking with deadly force. The aliens' once supreme superiority was quickly turning into a nightmare. A massive alien cruiser, once thought to be invincible, was struck in its vulnerable engine core. The explosion was deafening, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. Pieces of the cruiser disintegrated in space, drifting in all directions like debris from a fallen star. "We're losing them, General." The tactical officer's voice was almost panicked. "The humans. They've figured out our tactics. We can't catch them." Vorax gritted his teeth, his mind scrambling to find a solution. His fleet, once so confident, was being destroyed piece by piece. The human ships, small and seemingly insignificant, had become a deadly threat that he had never anticipated. Every move he made was countered by their cunning. The humans weren't just fighting. They were outsmarting him at every turn. "Prepare to deploy countermeasures," Vorax ordered. "Activate cloaking shields on all ships and launch the hunter drones. We'll flush them out." But even as he gave the orders, he knew it was too late. The human fleet had already adapted. They had anticipated the use of hunter drones, and they had developed their own countermeasures. The human ships, though smaller, were more than capable of evading and counteracting the alien tactics. The battle raged on, with each side exchanging blows. The human fleet moved with relentless speed, attacking from unexpected angles, forcing the aliens into a defensive position. Vorax could feel the weight of the situation bearing down on him. His once proud fleet, brimming with confidence and advanced technology, was now on the brink of defeat. He watched as another of his destroyers erupted in a ball of fire, a direct hit to its core systems. The destruction was swift, and the human ships were already gone, cloaked once again before his fleet could react. For a brief moment, Vorax stood frozen, his eyes wide with disbelief. He had underestimated the humans, thought them weak and defenseless. But now he was witnessing their strength in action. The tide of battle had turned, and it was clear that the humans had the upper hand. "This is impossible," he whispered to himself. "How could they be doing this? How are they so prepared?" The alien commander's mind raced, but as the human fleet continued to strike with deadly force, it became evident that his forces were being pushed to their limit. The humans were no longer fighting a losing battle. They were winning. And the more Vorax watched, the more he realized that the arrogance he had once felt had blinded him to the true nature of his enemies. In a last-ditch effort, Vorax ordered the remaining ships to regroup. "Fall back. We need to re-establish formation and regroup," he commanded, but his voice held little conviction. His fleet was broken, shattered by the humans' unexpected resistance. The battle was slipping away from him, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. The humans had proven one thing beyond doubt. They were no longer the weak, helpless creatures the alien empire had believed them to be. They were strong, resourceful, and capable of turning the tide of battle in their favor. As the dust settled and the last of the human ships disappeared into the darkness, Vorax's thoughts turned to the future. He had lost this battle, but the war was far from over. Still, one thing was certain. This time, the humans would not be so easily defeated. And as he looked out into the vast expanse of space, he realized that the fight had only just begun. The battle between the alien fleet and humanity was now in full force, raging across the expanse of space. The once confident and arrogant alien commanders were now realizing just how powerful the humans were, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Despite the size and technological disparity, humanity's determination was clear. Captain Benner, a seasoned and charismatic leader, stood at the helm of the last remaining warship in the human fleet, leading his crew with unyielding resolve. Every decision he made, every command he gave, was a testament to the strength of the human spirit. The alien fleet, larger and more advanced, fired relentlessly at the human ships, but the humans didn't flinch. They maneuvered with agility, their cloaking devices making them elusive targets. They fought with the fierce tenacity of an underdog, and with each successful strike, their resolve only grew stronger. But then, just as the humans had begun to believe they might turn the tide of this battle, a devastating blow struck Captain Benner's ship. A massive alien beam cut through the ship's hull, causing explosions to ripple across the vessel's interior. The bridge shuddered violently, and alarms blared as the lights flickered. The crew stumbled, trying to maintain their footing, but it was clear the ship was on the brink of collapse. Benner's face, once filled with the fire of a warrior, now grew cold with determination. He gripped the armrest of his captain's chair, his knuckles white. His crew looked to him, fear in their eyes, but also hope. They trusted him. They knew that if anyone could turn this around, it was Captain Benner. "Captain, we're losing power. Shields are down to 10%. We won't make it through another hit," one of the crew members shouted, his voice laced with panic. Benner turned toward him, his expression unwavering. "We've come too far to back down now," he said, his voice steady, despite the chaos around him. He looked out at the stars, watching as the alien ships closed in, relentless in their pursuit. "We fight for Earth," he continued, his voice ringing out across the ship. "We fight for our future." There was a brief silence, as if the entire crew held its breath. Then Benner's decision was made. He knew what he had to do. With his ship crumbling around him, he knew that it was time to make the ultimate sacrifice. It was the only way to ensure that the human fleet would have a chance to win this battle. "Prepare for final charge," Captain Benner ordered, his voice now calm and resolute. "All hands, brace for impact." The crew began to move quickly, following their orders with the efficiency and discipline that only soldiers with a deep sense of loyalty could manage. The ship's engines, already failing, began to push forward once more as the crew made their final push toward the alien flagship, the heart of the alien fleet. Benner walked through the corridors of the ship, his eyes scanning the faces of his crew. Each one was determined, but the fear was impossible to ignore. Some of them had families back on Earth. Some had dreams of a future that they might never see. But they all had one thing in common. They were willing to fight and die for the survival of their species, and they would follow Benner anywhere. As the human warship accelerated toward the alien flagship, explosions rocked the hull. The ship's systems were failing fast, but Benner refused to relent. He ordered his crew to open fire one last time, their remaining weapons blasting a final barrage toward the enemy ship. The sheer force of the human ship's death charge sent shockwaves through the battlefield, causing the alien fleet to hesitate for just a moment. The last remaining human warship struck the alien flagship with an overwhelming blast. The impact was catastrophic. The alien ship, already damaged by previous hits, shattered like glass under the sheer force of the human ship's final charge. The explosion sent out a brilliant shockwave that illuminated the dark void of space, creating a temporary beacon of hope in the midst of destruction. As the explosion rippled through space, Captain Benner's final words echoed across the communication channels, reaching every human ship in the fleet. "For Earth, for the future," he said, his voice resolute and filled with unwavering purpose. In the final moments of the ship's destruction, the camera focused on the faces of the remaining crew members, their expressions a mixture of grief and resolve. They watched as their leader's sacrifice became the turning point of the battle, but their hearts were heavy. They had lost their captain, their guiding force, but they knew they could not let his sacrifice be in vain. The human ships, now emboldened by Benner's final act, renewed their assault. The alien fleet, still reeling from the destruction of their flagship, was in disarray. The humans, no longer fighting just for survival, fought with the fire of vengeance and the spirit of their fallen leader driving them forward. As the battle wore on, the humans pushed harder, striking with even greater precision. They knew they could not afford to waste time mourning. Their captain had died for this moment, and they would not let his sacrifice be meaningless. The alien fleet, now fragmented and disorganized, began to crumble under the relentless assault. One by one, alien ships were destroyed, their massive forms breaking apart in the cold vacuum of space. The battle, once thought to be a certain victory for the aliens, was now turning into a decisive win for humanity. The underdog had risen. The humans were no longer the weak, pathetic creatures that the alien commanders had believed them to be. They were warriors, united, fierce, and resolute. As the final alien ship was destroyed, the human fleet stood victorious. The remaining ships floated in the silence of space, their engines humming faintly. The camera zoomed out, capturing the vast expanse of space, now filled with the wreckage of the alien fleet. The humans had won, but at a great cost. Captain Benner was gone, and the price of victory had been steep. But the humans had proven something that day. They had shown the universe that they would never back down. They had fought with everything they had, and they had won. The message was clear. Humanity had risen from the ashes of their initial defeat, and they had come out victorious. And as the remaining human ships slowly drifted away from the battlefield, the words, "For Earth, for the future," echoed in the hearts of every soldier, every crew member, and every person who had fought for the survival of humanity. The fight wasn't over, but the humans had proven they were more than capable of facing whatever the universe threw their way. The darkness of space was now filled with the sounds of battle. Sparks of laser fire, the deafening roar of missiles exploding, and the shrieking screech of twisted metal collided in a symphony of destruction. The battle for the galaxy had come to this, a final showdown between the human forces and the seemingly invincible alien fleet. General Vorax's flagship, the once proud symbol of the alien empire's power, was now surrounded by the remnants of his crumbling fleet. His eyes burned with frustration as he watched the human ships advance, despite the overwhelming odds. Their warships, smaller and fewer in number, were fighting with a ferocity and determination that was alien to the general. He had underestimated them. And now, it seemed, the humans were proving to be a force that would change the galaxy forever. Within the human fleet, a sense of unity and purpose was palpable. Soldiers and robots fought side by side, not just for victory, but for survival. These were not just the last remnants of a desperate resistance. They were humanity's final push to defend their home, their families, and their future. The alien forces, once so sure of their superiority, were now on the brink of collapse. Human warships, battered and scarred from the long battle, powered forward with a renewed sense of urgency. Each ship carried the weight of humanity's hopes, and every soldier aboard knew that this battle was more than just a fight. It was a statement. They were fighting for their right to exist in a galaxy that had long dismissed them as weak and insignificant. The air on the human flagship was thick with tension. Every crew member, from the youngest cadet to the most seasoned officer, felt the weight of the moment. In the war rooms, the planning was over. Now, it was all about execution. The battle had reached its climax, and there was no room for error. Outside, the vast alien fleet loomed like a dark cloud, its weapons flashing, its engines roaring. The alien ships were powerful, their technology advanced beyond anything humanity had ever seen. But it wasn't the technology that made the difference, it was the people. The humans were fighting with something the aliens couldn't understand. An unbreakable will to survive, a fierce loyalty to their home, and an unyielding belief that no force in the galaxy could defeat them. As the human warships closed in on the alien fleet, the battle intensified. Laser beams and plasma bolts streaked through space, cutting down ships in their path. The humans were not just fighting with technology, they were fighting with their hearts. The air was alive with the sounds of their weapons, their ships dodging alien attacks and countering with perfect precision. And then came the robots, hundreds of sleek, metallic machines, built for one purpose, to fight. The drones, equipped with advanced AI systems, moved with deadly grace, coordinating their movements with human soldiers. Together, they formed a seamless unit, moving as one in the heart of the battle. The cameras zoomed in, capturing the intensity of the fight. Explosions erupted across the battlefield, lighting up the darkness of space. The human ships and robots weaved in and out of laser fire, avoiding direct hits with split-second precision. On the ground, soldiers in advanced power armor moved in sync with the drones, charging into the alien ships and taking the fight directly to the heart of the alien fleet. The robots, once thought of as mere tools of war, now fought with an almost human-like determination. Their AI systems had evolved through the course of the battle, making them more adaptive and capable with each passing moment. They moved like fluid machines, their movements a blur of metallic limbs and deadly energy weapons. With every strike, they tore into the alien ships, breaking through shields and destroying vital components. The camera focused on one particular scene, showing a human soldier leading a charge into an alien cruiser. His power armor gleamed under the flash of exploding debris as he raised his weapon and fired. The alien ship's shields flickered and cracked, unable to withstand the intensity of the human assault. The soldier ducked as an explosion rang out above him, and the screen shook with the force of it. He didn't hesitate, though, pushing forward with a grim determination. Nearby, a group of robots moved in, their guns firing in unison. They worked as one, their movements precise and deadly. They tore through the alien defenses, leaving behind a trail of destruction. But it wasn't just their weapons that made the difference, it was their teamwork. Each robot knew its role, and each one performed it flawlessly. The humans, too, fought with a sense of unity and purpose, their training and bravery pushing them beyond their limits. Amid the chaos, General Vorax watched the battle unfold from the safety of his flagship's command room. His eyes narrowed as he saw the human forces pushing forward. It was impossible. He had seen fleets larger and more powerful than this fall before him. And yet these humans, these primitive beings, were tearing through his fleet with relentless fury. "Activate the final defense," Vorax ordered, his voice cracking with desperation. "We cannot allow them to breach the heart of the fleet." The alien fleet responded with a series of rapid movements, trying to regroup and push back the humans. Massive alien warships moved into position, their weapons aimed at the oncoming human forces. It was clear that General Vorax was preparing for a final all-out assault. But the humans were ready. With a roar, the human ships pushed forward, their engines burning with fury. In the midst of the chaos, they formed a battle line, flanking the alien ships and cutting through their defenses. The human soldiers on the ground fought with the same intensity, pushing their way through the alien cruisers and cutting down anything that stood in their way. The robots moved with a mechanical precision that outmatched the aliens. They advanced, their weapons firing in perfect sync as they disabled the alien ships one by one. With every strike, the alien fleet grew weaker, its defenses crumbling under the weight of the human onslaught. The human flagship, now at the heart of the enemy fleet, launched its final attack. A massive beam of energy shot from its core, slamming into the flagship of General Vorax. The alien ship shuddered under the blast, its shields flickering and breaking apart. For a moment, everything seemed to stand still. And then, the explosion. The camera zoomed in on the alien flagship as it erupted into a brilliant ball of fire, lighting up the dark void of space. The shockwave from the blast rippled outward, knocking nearby alien ships off course. General Vorax's flagship was no more. A collective cheer erupted from the human fleet, a roar of triumph that echoed across the battlefield. The aliens had been defeated, their forces shattered by the will and determination of humanity. The human ships, though battered and scarred, had won the day. But there was no time to rest. The battle was not yet over. The remaining alien ships, disorganized and desperate, tried to retreat. But the humans weren't about to let them escape. The remaining warships pursued, cutting down the last of the alien forces with ruthless precision. As the last alien ship fell, the battlefield fell silent. The victory was complete, but the cost had been high. The human fleet, though victorious, had lost many ships and many good men and women. But they had won. They had proven that even against the greatest of odds, humanity could rise up and fight with all the strength they had. The camera zoomed out, showing the wreckage of the alien fleet drifting in space. Among the debris, the human ships remained, their hulls marked by battle but still standing tall. The war was over, but the legacy of humanity's victory would live on forever. Humanity had triumphed, not through superior numbers or advanced technology, but through their unbreakable will to survive, to protect what they loved, and to fight for their place in the galaxy. The galaxy would never forget the humans, an underdog species that had proven they could conquer anything. As the human ships drifted away, victorious, the camera faded to black, leaving only the quiet hum of the engines and the echoes of a battle that would forever be remembered. The battle had raged for hours, but now it was over. The final explosion had marked the end of General Vorax's flagship, leaving nothing but debris where the once mighty ship had been. The remaining alien fleet, stunned and demoralized by the relentless assault of the human forces, began to retreat into the vast, dark emptiness of space. The humans had won. Earth's sky, once dark with the looming threat of invasion, was now clear. The stars twinkled above, their distant light a symbol of the hope that had returned to the planet. It had been a long and brutal battle, and many lives had been lost, but humanity had proven something to the galaxy. They were not to be underestimated. The human fleet floated among the wreckage of the alien armada, a solemn silence hanging in the air. The battle had been won, but the cost had been high. On board the surviving warships, the crew members surveyed the wreckage around them, their faces filled with grief and exhaustion. But there was also a sense of pride. Pride in what they had accomplished, pride in the strength they had shown, and most of all, pride in their humanity. Captain Benner's final sacrifice had not been in vain. The entire fleet had rallied around his death, fighting harder than ever before, and the alien forces had been pushed back. As the last of the alien ships fled into the void, the humans knew they had secured a future for their children. Earth was safe once again. But there was still one lingering question. Would the rest of the galaxy see humanity as they truly were now? Would they recognize the humans as the powerful force they had become, capable of taking on even the most technologically advanced empires? Or would they continue to view Earth as a mere speck in the vastness of the galaxy? The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Humanity had proven that they could survive anything. They had defied the odds, and in doing so, had earned their place among the stars. The camera lingered on the survivors of the human fleet as they gazed out into the vast expanse of space. Some were standing on the bridge of their warships, while others were scattered throughout the wreckage, assessing the damage and checking for any remaining alien threats. Their faces were a mix of exhaustion and relief, their bodies weary but their spirits unbroken. The battle had been long and brutal, but they had made it through. And now, they were looking ahead, to a future that had seemed impossible just days before. The stars above shone brighter than ever, as if the galaxy itself was acknowledging humanity's victory. Earth was no longer just a small, insignificant planet in the corner of the galaxy. The humans had proven that they could stand toe-to-toe with the greatest and most powerful forces in the universe, and they had emerged victorious. The galaxy would never be the same again. As the camera panned over the human fleet, a transmission came through. It was from Earth Command, and it echoed across the galaxy, a message of defiance and strength. "Humanity has risen," the voice said, "and we will never be underestimated again." The words reverberated through the vastness of space, reaching every corner of the galaxy. The humans had sent a clear message. They would not be pushed around. They had fought, they had bled, and they had won. The galaxy would have to reckon with them from now on. The final scene of the battle played out in slow motion as the remaining alien ships, their hulls battered and broken, fled into the darkness. The human warships, though scared and damaged, stood tall among the wreckage. They were the victors, the survivors of a battle that would go down in history. The camera zoomed in on the faces of the crew, their eyes filled with a mixture of sorrow and triumph. They had lost so much, but they had gained something even greater, a future. As the human fleet drifted through the stars, the camera zoomed out, showing Earth in the distance. The planet was quiet now, peaceful, its surface no longer marred by the threat of invasion. The once terrifying fleet of alien ships had been destroyed, and Earth was safe once again. But the camera did not linger on the peaceful Earth for long. It zoomed out further, showing the vastness of space. The galaxy was so much larger than Earth, and the human fleet, though victorious, was just one small piece of the cosmic puzzle. There were still many challenges ahead, many battles to fight, and many unknowns lurking in the dark corners of the universe. And yet, as the camera panned over the stars, there was a sense of hope. Humanity had faced its darkest hour and emerged victorious. They had shown the galaxy that they were more than just a primitive species, more than just a group of insignificant beings in the farthest reaches of space. They were a force to be reckoned with, a species capable of overcoming any obstacle, no matter how great. The transmission from Earth Command echoed once more. "A new age has begun." The words lingered in the air as the camera focused on Earth, the planet now at peace, the stars twinkling above. The message faded, but the meaning was clear. The humans had not just survived. They had thrived. And now, the galaxy would have to reckon with them. The scene faded to black, leaving behind the quiet hum of the engines and the distant light of the stars. The war was over, but the story of humanity had only just begun. In that moment, humanity stood at the threshold of a new era, one where they would no longer be the underdogs, one where they would shape their own destiny and stand shoulder to shoulder with the greatest civilizations the galaxy had ever known. The future was bright, and the possibilities were endless. A new age had indeed begun.